What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. And for those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, please make sure that you like, subscribe, review, leave us a good positive note. Much appreciated. You could also check us out on our podcast feed, which you would help us a lot if you listen to the Odyssey app. But nonetheless, whatever app you use, please rate, subscribe, and review on any podcast app that you use. I think you guys who listen to podcasts or watch podcasts know how important it is, so please do us that favor. With that being said, on today's edition of Inside the Green Room, Danny, now a retired man, talk about sports betting.
Hot takes.
Hot takes. But
hot takes on the way.
Can also talk about sports betting a little bit more openly nowadays. So because I'm a man who's been in the sports betting industry for about 4 or 5 years now, we're going to go into the futures market in the National Basketball Association. I think you're going to want to get Danny's insight on some bets that might make sense for the wagerers out there. With that being said, there's also other things we're going to get into, including Joel Embiid apparently not playing back-to-backs maybe for the rest of his career. Got to break that down as well. But first, let's get into it, Danny. You are now a retired man. Before we get into some of the messages that you got, how has, I think, you're 4 days into retirement, official retirement? How has that been?
It's been amazing, man. I must say, like the love was overwhelmingly great, and big shout out to, my people that had a part to play in this. Obviously you, Harrison, James Jackson put the video together. It was dope, man. Amjad, my team, my boys from back home, but Darren Duncan, Antoine Pearson, my closest friends, they had a hand in helping and talking me through some of the music stuff, some of the things the memories we wanted to put out there. But the love was overwhelming, man. It was really dope. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad you guys helped me do it the right way. Because, telling people naturally I'm a Spur at heart, and we just like to just disappear off into the woods without saying anything. So, I'm glad that you guys, pushed me to do it and, have a video, have a team, put it out the right way. Did it on the podcast, no other way I would rather do it. Ended up being in the prisons during the announcement, which was a blessing in disguise, where I didn't have to be, a part of my phone the whole day. I just be there and relax and enjoy the company and, hang out with the inmates and have them feel like they had a day of freedom and be a part of society. But yeah, man, I got love from all over the place, man. Messages and flowers from everybody, man. It was super dope, and I felt appreciated.
Yeah, I want to go into those messages, and we'll do that in just a moment. But it's something that I told you when you told me that it was about to go down. When you are an actual athlete, an NBA player, particularly because you know how social media goes, a lot of the energy that you get on social media is negative. It's just the nature of the game. You're a professional athlete. People are going to troll you, make fun of you, point out what you did wrong. It happens from the greatest of players to LeBron James, and it happens to the most role players of role players. Everybody can get it on social media.
Yes, absolutely.
But when you retire, it actually allows people to see the scope of your career. And it doesn't allow people to maybe nitpick on this game or this attribute of your game. It allows people to really, truly look at, have a bird's eye view of everything that went down in your career. And I, as I was saying, like, I hope you appreciate that now the energy towards you is going to change, because as a basketball player, right, you're going to have some people who say, oh, he's a 3-time champion. He was a very good defensive player. But you've seen it before. You're also going to see people on social media. Oh, Danny can't dribble. Oh, he's unathletic. But now that you're retired, it's, damn, he had a good career. He was a good pro. He's one of the best role players of his generation. I wonder what he has to say. Like, it changes like that.
Hell of a snap there, Harrison. But yes, it did. And wifey, it's kind of dark way to put it, but it's like seeing your funeral before. Like, they look at you, like you can see how they're looking at you in the grand scheme of things. But some people look at you like you're gone, you're saying goodbye, or like some people might treat you like you're dying or you're dead. You know what I'm saying? But like your life is over. But there's a lot of life left to live. But it's kind of like seeing the people that will show up to your funeral before you actually have your funeral. But it's just moving on to the next chapter of life, and it's the blink of an eye, or the snap of a finger. The way you snap, things change, man. But it will be a different aspect when I'm in this new phase, new chapter of life of doing media. I'm sure I'll get criticized in a different light, but it's beautiful to see the messages. So a couple of messages I got that stood out to me is the people that, I kind of knew for supporters from afar, but I didn't realize how big of supporters they were. Certain comedians, certain actors, actresses. Obviously, Bron showed love, but people like Jamie Foxx, Bozzy showed some love. Michael Coulter, an actor. Like certain people like that, I'm like, damn, these people still show love. Obviously, my teammates and family and friends are great. From all those people showed a lot of love. But when it's shocking to see like some people in other fields, other professions supporting and showing that love and following and commenting on my page, which was super dope.
Was there a phone call that you had that stood out to you?
Today's world, not people make many phone calls. Most phone calls,
wild, ain't it?
Friends. Yeah, so I only had like 6 or 7 phone calls, right? And some of my dad's friends, because older people. But DeJounte Murray, he was one of the very few guys that called me. And the player, he sent the text first, then he sent the call. And he always one of the young guys, shows a lot of love. He's good at giving back to his people and spreading, he's got a big heart. But yeah, no one in particular yet. And also, I'm assuming still a couple of days fresh. I'm sure a lot of people waiting for the dust to settle to call me. But Toronto did their thing, showed love. San Antonio did their thing, showed love. Lakers, everybody, all the teams that I played for showed love. They did great videos. San Antonio was beautiful, man. And not many phone calls though. More so text messages and Instagram. Phone was going crazy.
Yeah. So as I look back at some of the Lakers did a post for you, as you mentioned, the Raptors and the Spurs did a post dedicated to your retirement news, and I found it interesting. Because the teams that you played for that you didn't win a title with didn't.
I think Philly did. I think Philly did.
Philly did? Oh, they did.
So today I actually got a chance to scroll through because when messages go active, it's hard to go to the bottom of the messages.
For sure.
Even before the announcement happened, Instagram trips out where they don't let you see but 20, 30 DMs. Like you couldn't scroll further down. But today somehow I got through and I was like, oh, let me go through and respond to some people probably wonder why I'm responding 4 days later to these messages. But I saw Philly did a story post or something. And I was like, damn, I missed the post. But I saw that they did show some love. I think it was a story post.
But even still, it's a story versus an actual post on the feed.
I also did. Memphis didn't do one. Cleveland, I don't think, did one. Philly does have a main feed post. But I know Zach Kleiman reached out. Like Grizzlies people reached out. Cleveland people reached out. I don't know if Cleveland did a post. I don't think Memphis did. I didn't play for them, but they did show love. It was good to hear from them via text. And Coach Taylor Jenkins reached out. So it was super dope, bro. A lot of love from everybody. It was crazy.
Nice. Yeah, as I said, keep on taking the flowers because you're deciding to stay. You're going to stay in the entertainment game this time on the media side. So at some point, you'll get used to the people will come at you that way. But they'll also celebrate you too. It's just like it's just like playing on the court, just a little bit different. Looking forward to getting all of your insights as we continue to go forward. And guys, stay tuned to what Danny might be doing next alongside doing this podcast where we talk about things happening in the NBA. So let's continue to talk about things happening in the NBA. Sunday night was a little bit spicy in Madison Square Garden. Donte DiVincenzo, alongside Julius Randle, who did not play, but was in the building at Madison Square Garden as the Minnesota Timberwolves took on the New York Knicks. Obviously, big trade this past offseason. Karl Anthony Towns, now a member of the Knicks, traded away from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm not sure exactly what was taking place. Nobody knows for certain, but there was some static between Rick Brunson, an assistant coach and father of Jalen Brunson, and Donte DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo was at the free throw line. If you want to lip read, I think he said, this is what happens when they let you run the show.
We'll see what happens when they let you run the show. I think this is what happens. Well, we'll see what happens when they let you run the show. Something along those lines.
Something along those lines. They had to be somewhat separated at the end of the game. I also will let you know or inform you guys if you don't know. Donte DiVincenzo was one of the groomsmen at Jalen Brunson's wedding. So one would think that they are tight, obviously. circumstances could potentially change. And we know Donte DiVincenzo's one of those once. If you watched him last year play for the New York Knicks, he definitely plays.
He's edgy.
He's
definitely
plays
edgy,
the game with his heart of his sleeve, and I think that's why Knicks fans are going to miss him. Nonetheless, Danny, your thoughts on the whole interaction, and just we haven't had a chance to publicly talk about it. Your thoughts on the trade in general.
Let's talk about the interaction first, because the competition is the sport of it that all of us love to see. The fans, we love it. We want to see it passion. Even though it's preseason, we don't care. We want to see some smoke.
Yeah, give me the smoke.
Give us a random East Coast, West Coast rivalry between Minnesota and New York. You only meet twice a year, but shit, we want to see those games. The more fans will tune in because they got smoke. End of the day, I think it's just competition. They are probably family. Jalen and they do pods together. They went to school together. They're brothers. So he has respect for his father. I'm sure he sees his father as a second entity of a father figure. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. But when it comes to the competition, we're gonna talk some shit. And if Rick is gonna talk some shit, guess what? Donte ain't going back down. He's not one of the guys that back down. And I'm sure that's how it went. I think that Rick might have started it. Rick's my man, good peoples. Old school guy though. Is going to try to get under your skin, try to get you off a game. Now, the trade, great trade for New York. I think it was the dumbest thing in the world for Minnesota. I just don't see, you didn't get enough in return from me. I love Julius. I love Donte and a pick. But you know how much you had to give out for Rudy Gobert? And no disrespect to Rudy. Rudy is a very good player, but Cat is in my mind and most people's mind, better than Rudy. And you didn't get they had to give out like 5 players and 5 picks for Rudy. You got back 2 players and a pick. To me, yeah, those 2 players are good, but it wasn't like, franchise. Like Cat is also like end of the day could be a franchise player for most organizations.
Yeah, but you can't blame the Timberwolves for not getting back the same value that they gave out for Rudy Gobert, because if you just that Rudy Gobert deal in terms of the value that was given away, and many people think it was just a mistake. It was an anomaly. It was not par for the course. So
I understand.
It was a one-off.
It was a one-off, but you gotta get close to it, bro. You trading Cat. I'm not saying get the exact same, but you gotta get. I just thought you should get more in return. You give away a franchise guy. You got 2 really good players, but I don't think you lost your stretch 5. You lost some stretch shooting from the stretch 5. Julius can shoot it, but I don't think he shoots as well as Cat. And your interior defense. Mind you just went to the Western Conference Finals. Where is the patience here? Why would you change anything? And if you're going to change something, why get rid of the big that you play the most in the playoffs? Not the big that you probably try to hide. You have another big in your roster that you're probably trying to hide, but you kept him and got rid of the other big. That makes no sense to me. Now you put a lot of pressure on Nazi Reed to take on a lot of the load offensively and defensively in the playoffs, because in the playoffs, you know how people are going to attack Rudy. Rudy had a great playoffs this year, but we know he's only getting older, and that when they're playing 5 out, Rudy is not going to be able to do that. He's not going to be able to guard on the perimeter like that. He's not going to be able to protect the rim and do those things. He's not going to be able to guard Jokic one-on-one. Why change things when you just were successful and you weren't even a piece away from being in the finals? You were just a year of maturity away from being to the finals. All they needed was a year of getting some stamina, getting some mental maturity. And I think your team would have been back in that same situation and beating whoever it is in the Western Conference Finals and making it to the finals. I don't think you need to change anything. That's a big change for a team that just went and won the West.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
Damn near won the West.
No, I agree. It is, on the surface, it's a puzzling move for sure. And I imagine maybe they would have liked to have kept Karl-Anthony Towns, but at the end of the day, Danny, I think it's a money thing.
Trade somebody else.
I get it. Yes. I guess he's the one that, with his salary number, it allows you to reset a bit better. Obviously, Mike Conley, his contract is not as long term. So
listen, Rudy's salary number, you could reset with Rudy's salary number too. That's a good chunk of money.
But you're not getting the value back if you trade Rudy. You're not getting the value back that you ended up getting. And on top of that,
but you don't lose as much. You don't lose as much if you trade Rudy. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You can trade Rudy. You can still have Nazi Reed. You can still have Cat. You still got your foundational pieces.
Well,
you can trade Rudy and get some multiple defensive wings or something like that and save some money. Get some defensive wings or some good depth on the bench.
But I think that's part of the thinking though, because Naz Reid was so good that he can somewhat replicate what they're losing with Cat. Obviously, you get in Julius Randle, who could help them in a multitude of ways, and you help that bench, adding Donte DiVincenzo. I think the thinking was you could replicate some of what what you lose with Cat. And you're not going to get the value that you want if you trade Rudy Gobert. Granted, I would have waited till the trade deadline, but I think this is just coming from the higher ups. This is a money thing. Julius Randle has the player option at the end of the year, so they can reset that way as well. It sucks. It sucks when teams that are that good have to change because of money. But Danny, you played for the Lakers.
CBA is a real thing, man.
That team was a championship team, certified championship. They won a championship, and it had to get changed because of money. It's just the reality of the game.
It didn't have to change. Could have ate the. Listen,
you're right. Yeah,
Golden State did it. Boston's doing it right now. You don't have to change a damn thing. You don't want to. Eat the cap. You know what I'm saying? But that's part of the CBA deal that we negotiated. It obviously wasn't the most friendly for that type of situation, but LA didn't have to change that much. There's a couple pieces they couldn't have paid. Minnesota, I don't think that. And if you do change, there's other ways to change. Now, yes, you can replicate it somewhat, but you have Nas is very good. He's not Cat. He's close. But if you have two Cats, that makes you a really good team. Now you lost one Cat. You know what I'm saying? They're saying he is Cat. You had two of them motherfuckers. Why would you let them both go?
Yeah,
he can replicate it, but shit, he's only one of him now. You know what I'm saying? Now he's got to be overused. He's not going to be able to play 48 minutes. No, you have two Cats, and you got rid of one. Why would you do that? Two very good players.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think Julius Randle is going to help him. Obviously, for sure, I think Donte DiVincenzo is going to help him.
Yeah, I think that'd be very good. I think it'd be good still.
Yeah. I will say this as we go into the next topic. As it pertains to the other side of the trade, the New York Knicks, I think it's going to help them. I do find it interesting that the Knicks had a formula last year that I think could have worked because it was the antithesis of what the Boston Celtics were. It was instead of going 5 out, they were going to play a bully ball game if Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson were healthy. If they ended up going against the Celtics, now they're essentially trying to beat the Celtics at the Celtics game, which is going to be an interesting experiment. And I would also say losing Julius Randle's playmaking is an underrated portion of this trade. While I still think the Knicks are going to be very good, I think having OG and Mikal Bridges on the perimeter is going to be something serious for a guy like Tom Thibodeau to be messing around with on the defensive side of the ball. But I do think there's an underestimated loss in Julius Randle's playmaking that, we'll see how it plays out over the course of the year. Let's get to some other NBA-related topics. Another one. Joel Embiid reportedly said to the media recently that he might not be playing back-to-backs for the rest of his career. Now, he started out around media day training camp discussing that his aspirations for MVP and all NBA and all those things are no longer there. He said this year he really wants the training staff to help him against himself. His desires to play. He said the training staff needs to hold him back if they deem he should not be playing. He's saying the right things. The question is, will he do the right things? And eventually, Danny, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Will Joel Embiid be healthy in the playoffs? Because he simply has not been, for the last 6-7 years, there's always some injury that's hindering him from being the best version of himself, even though those hindered versions of him are still damn good.
Yeah. Ultimately, as I said, it comes down to Joel, man. Joel's got to take care of himself. And I have no problems with this. I hate it for the fans. But unless there's back-to-backs in the playoffs, you don't need to be doing them. You know what I'm saying? But he gets in great shape. He has phases. He has to stay in great shape. He has to stay in the weight room. You have to do little things to take care of your body. You can't lose 20, 30 pounds and then just chill and relax and then, not do the same regimen if you take care of your body, it'll come back to you. So if he stays in the weight room and do what he's supposed to do, has the right people around him doing the treatments and take care of his body, he should be fine. But yes, the back-to-backs, he doesn't need to do them unless it's in the playoffs because there's no excuse for him at this point in his career if they're limiting him to not be available and healthy in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? You got to prepare everything for that time because you have guys around you now that even if you do sit out back-to-backs, they can win you games or keep you both. Y'all going to make the playoffs whether you're playing or not. You have a good enough team to do that. So if you have to miss a part of the middle of the season, a part of the beginning of the season or right before the end of the season, to give you a freshness, a week or two like here and there to make sure your body's healthy. You have the backup to help you, get to where you need to go and get you in the right positions and just make sure you're healthy for that time. Because Tyrese, Paul George, all the people you guys got are more than enough to keep you above water.
Yeah, I just hope that the coaching staff, the training staff is considerate to us, the basketball consumer. If Joel Embiid is scheduled to play against the Milwaukee Bucks, and then he's scheduled to play.
Let it be known, especially the gamblers out there.
And if he's playing the Pistons and then the Bucks, hey, bro, you can sit that Pistons game. We want to see you on national TV against the Bucks. If you're about to play the Charlotte Hornets or the New York Knicks, you can sit out that Charlotte Hornets game. No shade to Charlotte, and you better play against the New York Knicks. National TV. Don't do us like that. Don't do us dirty. We can respect. We can respect the fact that he won't play back-to-backs as long as you don't cheat us out of the experiences that we all want to see. And those are the marquee matchups on national TV. If he does that, then I think everybody, the general public, will be fine. But don't start skipping out the big games.
Yeah, not the big games.
Hey, don't you dare. Don't you dare skip out the Jokic matchup this year, yo. Come on.
No, I can't do it. In Denver. He plays Jokic in Philly. You got to play him in Denver.
Play him in Denver, yo. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I think we have one more topic in this Green Room recap that we wanted to discuss, and that was Lonzo Ball. Finally returning to the court. Shams Charania reported on Monday that he will make his preseason debut on Wednesday for the Chicago Bulls. It's so wild, Danny, because there was a time when he first got to the Bulls, him, Lonzo, DeMar DeRozan.
Man, they was going to be electric, bro. They were electric.
What? They were. He's
the reason why they're not. Everything has gone fallen and broken down because of him, honestly. They're talking about trading Zack LaVine, DeMar not staying there. If they have a healthy Zoe these past few years, you wouldn't be looking at Chicago the same way. I mean, ultimately, some other guys wouldn't get the same opportunities, like my guy Kobe White, who's been hooping and balling out. Traded away Alex Caruso, but I think this team would have been really good, especially in the East. The East has been wide open. They've been one of those top 5 teams in the East, and it could have been the early Indiana. What Indiana is now, I think they could have been that.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know what to expect from him. Obviously, you have Kobe White, who has a ball in his hands. They traded for Josh Giddey, who's a player who needs the ball in his hands. He's damn sure not a catch and shoot type of player who's not supposed to have the ball in his hands, standing on the wings. And then you have Lonzo here, who I just don't know what to expect, and I don't know what they should expect of him. I'm just happy he's back on the court.
I expect him to hoop, man. I seen him play, man. I actually hooped against Lonzo. He did some one-on-ones. He looked really good. He's shooting pretty smooth. Defensively, I know it's going to take us some time to get in a rhythm. Offensively, same, but he's a pass-first guy, push the pace. I think I expect some great things out of Lonzo this year. I think he's going to surprise some people with how healthy he is. So I expect them. It's going to take a month or two. But I expect after that time, they're going to be back right where they need to be. And I think Chicago's going to be a sleeper team in the East.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see if they are a sleeper, where Zack LaVine is going to be, because there's no denying Zack LaVine is an explosive scorer. And if I'm Zack LaVine, I got to be saying to myself,
oh, he's got a chip on his shoulder for sure.
If Zack LaVine doesn't have his chip on his shoulder, he'll never have one.
I don't know if you've seen him in preseason, but he came out, I think he had like 25, 24 in the first half. It's preseason. Either way, he's not taking it lightly, bro. And I think people are showing he's back to who he was. He's explosive. He's doing his thing, and he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. And I'm expecting to carry that throughout the whole season.
Yeah, so. The fact that nobody wanted to trade for him had to speak volumes to himself, and we'll see if he wants to really validate his standing in the league again, because at one point he was a surefire all-star, and obviously he still has all-star talent, but his name has been sullied, and I don't use that word often. His name has definitely been sullied in NBA circles. We'll see what he does for a return to NBA glory. When we would come back from break, it's one of my favorite things. We're going to do some NBA wagering. Who's going to win the Central Division? Who's going to win the Pacific Division? Who is going to be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference? And Danny has a surprise pick for who's going to lead the league in blocks, or at least a good bet for who's going to lead the league in blocks. This, that, and much more when we return. This is Inside the Green Room. Welcome back to Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I am Harrison Sanford. So for the past 4 or 5 years, I have been doing a lot of sports betting content. You could actually catch me on the VSiN Sporting Network every day, Monday through Friday, 7 through 10 a.m. And I specifically look at different futures markets, betting prop markets, something I've been doing for a while. And I've had the pleasure and the advantage, I would say, of picking Danny's brain sometimes when it comes to basketball and asking him, okay, what type of coverage does his team use? What player is likely to get open? What type of defensive principles does his team have? And it allows me, and it has allowed me as a bettor, to really place bets with a sense of confidence that I hope all of you guys now can have, because Danny is now retired. So he could really talk about sports betting and even do recommendations. Or shit, he could even place a bet himself now that he's retired. And really take advantage of the knowledge that he's gained while being in the league for 14, 15 years, however you want to kind of break it down. With that being said, we are going to look at some NBA future betting markets and really get Danny's perspective here on what might make sense in terms of a good bet. Now, mind you, a bet doesn't necessarily have to hit for it to be a good bet. Sometimes the value of a bet is so good, you feel compelled to place it, even though you might not get the full value of it. For example, let's go right to it. Number one seed in the Western Conference, Danny. As I look at the odds for the number one seed in the Western Conference, let's see it here. Number one seed right now is Oklahoma City Thunder at plus 110. You place a $100 bet, you win $110. Very simple. But now there's real value on the other teams. Minnesota Timberwolves at plus 550. Dallas Mavericks plus 650. Denver Nuggets plus 750. Phoenix Suns plus 1,300, 13-1 odds. And Memphis Grizzlies at 14-1 odds. Now, you guys can do what you want. I'm not going to tell you how to exactly spend your money. But for this bet is not going to cash out, or this bet is not going to come to fruition until next April. I'll be damned if I have $100 sitting in my FanDuel account, my DraftKings account, my Fanatics Sportsbook account, whatever book you want to use. I'll be damned if I have $100 sitting in there waiting for a $110 flip on the OKC Thunder. That's just I'm not going to let that money sit there until April. $100, not worth it. Now, will I have $100 sitting in my account if I'm picking something like 13-1 odds with the Phoenix Suns, 14-1 odds with the Memphis Grizzlies? That's a little bit more enticing, because now we're talking real flip, because $100 turns into $1,400 or $1,300. Danny, as I name some of those teams, does it make sense for anybody other than the OKC Thunder to get a bet?
Man, I really think OKC's got this one wrapped up. They have to stay healthy. But they got so much better. They got some good pieces. Picking up Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, big time. You got some veteran. Now they're a year older. Minnesota made some changes. It's going to take them a while to get rhythm. The only other team or teams, Memphis to me seems like a sleeper. I feel like they're going to climb the ladder. I don't know if they'll be 1, but I can see them 2 or 3 and possibly sneaking up there if they're the healthier team. I think their luck is going to change as well. They had bad luck last year with all the injuries. This year, I think they'll be healthier. But if you're really trying to make a flip, I would go with that Memphis squad, man, because they have the biggest outcome, and they're the most talented sleeper team that was a top 3 seeded team the year before.
Yeah, no, Memphis had been right there. It's just the injuries and obviously the whole Ja controversy that really changed things. I think what people have to realize, while Ja was gone, Danny, the individual stars on this team got better. Jaren Jackson Jr. started to excel as an isolation scorer. They would just give him the ball and let him and say, go to work. And he got a lot better at doing that. Desmond Bane, who has been primarily known as just a shooter, look at his assist numbers over the past 2 years while Ja's been gone. He's gotten better as a playmaker. So the secondary and tertiary skills of the complementary pieces to Ja have widened the span of their game. And Ja's coming back. And there's a reason to believe that Ja might come back even better. What if Ja is a better three-point shooter
with
now?
A chip on his shoulder? Got something to prove, man. They're all a year older, and they all got a chip on their shoulder. So this is going to be an interesting year in the West and for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then adding Zach Edey, the big 7'5" rookie, 7'4", however you want to, still a big body. Can't teach that.
I think the one interesting thing for me is to see where Marcus Smart really fits in with this team. What is he going to – obviously, we know what he can provide. How will they use him? And
their front court's really small with those three guys. Their backcourt is really small.
Yeah, really small.
You got Ja, Dez, and Smart. Yeah, that's a small – you're going to have to change something up. Yeah, so that is going to be the interesting fit, honestly.
I have no insight to the front office. Not a single insight to the front office. So I would
think Marcus needs to come off the bench. You can't have all three of those guys. John Dez are your franchise, backcourt younger guys. You got to keep them confident. Smart knows where his role is. He's good. He can be that backup point guard to Ja, and then you have to have a starter, a bigger wing somewhere. Maybe Gigi Jackson.
Yeah, I would. If I were Memphis, I would be. There's no way Marcus Smart stays on the roster past the trading deadline. I gotta flip him for a 3-and-D wing with size.
A veteran 3-and-D wing. I mean, you got Gigi Jackson. So you got some guys that are just younger. You got Gigi and then Jaren, and you got Zach Edey at the 5. You got Brandon Clark off the bench, Santi Aldama off the bench. You got some good pieces over there. But you need bigger wings. Luke Kennard off the bench, more of a shooter. You need. It's funny, Danny, and I again, this goes back to I'm like commending you because I'm like, damn, that team needs a Danny Green. Almost every team needs one of you now. Like in your prime, younger version of me,
that doesn't need the ball, that can just hit threes and plays very good defense. That would make Memphis so much better. Every team needs one if you're really trying to win a chip. That is for sure. All right, let's stick with the Memphis Grizzlies, though, and let's go to another bet. Again, not saying it's necessarily going to hit, but it might be worthwhile investment. Right now, at least on FanDuel Sportsbook, there's a market for who's going to lead the league in blocks per game. Obviously, the favorite is Victor Wembanyama, and right now he's minus 480. Last year, Victor Wembanyama's rookie season, as I pull it up, he averaged 3.6 blocks per game. Now, Danny, your former teammate, Jaren Jackson Jr., in his Defensive Player of the Year season, averaged 3 blocks a game. Right now, he's plus 900 to win that market. You also have Chet Holmgren, 20-1, Walker Kessler, 30-1, Anthony Davis, 30-1. I mean, Anthony Davis, 30-1. Yo, that's a flip right there, boy.
But you got it's a lot of risk. That's a big risk gamble right there because AD, the main primary defender, and sometimes his injury.
No, well, that's the thing. The market isn't total blocks. The market isn't who's going to lead the league in
blocks per game.
The market is blocks per. Yeah, the market is blocks per game.
Blocks per game. Gotcha. Still, I think Victor is pretty much a lock, but if you want more for your return, I'm going with Jaren Jackson Jr. Because they just got Zach Edey, who replaced Steven Adams, and now allows him to not have to have the sole, carry the weight of just being the main primary big and protecting the rim. So he doesn't have to worry about foul trouble as much. He still needs to be smarter with foul trouble. He still needs to rebound better, but he doesn't have to rebound as much. When you have a Zach Edey 7'4" body in there, he can roam the floor and still just attempt to block shots everywhere. So he allows him to be him. So like I said, if you want to get more money for your return, I'm going with Jaren Jackson Jr. With blocks per game because he's still very young. He's still very healthy on that list. AD is a good flip, but we just never know with the health-wise and him being the primary, big defender on everybody. He's going to sit some games and the fatigue of carrying the load because I don't know who else is going to back him up or who's going to give him the breaks. He's going to be fatigued. Nick Claxton is a good, even though Brooklyn's not going to be that great, he's the primary big, still young and active. He could be a guy, but I think ultimately I would take that gamble with Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Let me go ahead and look at, I think, one of the things that maybe I'll factor in as well when you're looking at this marketplace, Danny, is how bad the perimeter defense might be. Because if teams are just ushering players to the paint, then that's going to allow for some blocks at the rim. Even so, I'm looking at Claxton's number. His high.
If you're smart, you're funneling them to that. Right? You're just like Memphis, you're going to funnel them to Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson. If you're Brooklyn, run them off the line, do many threes, funnel them to your big men that have big men threats. San Antonio, running guys off the line, tell them to finish over Victor. good luck. You may not block it. He's going to alter and change it. You're not going to shoot that comfortably. That floater, layup, whatever, is not going to be comfortable.
Yeah, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very good sleeper there because I think in this roaming position, kind of like similar to when he had Steven Adams with him, allows him to be a terror on the defensive side of the ball. It really might just come down to, and again, and this is no shade on Ja or Desmond, those guys are not known as perimeter defenders. So you might be ushering into the paint. I think the one thing that might be hurt Jaren Jackson Jr., with the way the NBA is now, that 4-man for most teams could shoot the 3. Before that, if you have a 4 like Aaron Gordon per se, who's not necessarily stretching the floor, then it's a lot easier to roam. But if your 4 is Jason Tatum, then you got to keep your ass in the perimeter.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
If your 4 is Evan Mobley, you could roam a little bit more. If your 4 is, name me another shooting 4 out there.
Julius Randle.
Yeah, because Julius Randle, he'll let it fly. If your 4 is Julius Randle, then you might not be able to roam as much. It might be matchup dependent, and I think going into the season, Danny, that is actually a betting market I'm going to get into. Ooh,
Aaron Gordon.
When I look at singular games, when I look at the Memphis Grizzlies, and I see them playing a team that doesn't have a stretch 4, I might be betting the over on Jaren Jackson Jr. blocks for that game. Because I know you'll be able to roam a bit more. That might be a marketplace I can target. I'm going to write that down. Get ready for the season. All right, let's talk about some other bets for the NBA season. This time we'll look at some of the divisions. All right, let's look at it. The Central Division. Now, the favorite to win the Central Division is the Milwaukee Bucks. Makes a lot of sense considering the fact they have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. Right now, they're minus 110. Again, I am not letting any type of money sit until April for minus 110 odds. Miss me with that nonsense. There are some interesting other markets, though. Cleveland Cavaliers with the new head coach, plus 250 to win the Central Division. And Danny, this one was curious to me. We're not looking at the Bulls. We're not going to look at the Pistons. That'll make any sense.
Yeah.
But the Pacers, with a full year of Pascal Siakam, the fact that they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're actually the third shortest odds to win this division. Yeah. And one would say to yourself, hold on, why wouldn't they be the favorite? But they're not. They're plus 270.
Right behind Cleveland. Very small behind Cleveland.
Very small behind Cleveland. But still, nonetheless, not a bad team to pick.
Not bad at all. They're young. They got everybody back, extended everybody. They paid everybody, and they stay healthy. They get up and down. Rick Carlisle's the coach. They're pushing the pace. They score a lot. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal getting used to each other. I think Tyrese Halliburton has, something to prove this year as well because, he kind of started out hot. And then after that, people started, saying
I forgot about that.
He's not the guy he was getting a lot of slack. They wasn't sure what was wrong with him.
No minutes in the Olympics.
Yeah, his hamstring, he wasn't so he has a chip on his shoulder. He has something to prove. So I said, I like Indiana for this bet. Honestly, I like Indiana actually winning this division. I don't know if Cleveland will stay the same. Milwaukee, to me, I don't think they got better this year. They're a good team, but they didn't get better this summer. I think they just got older. I think Cleveland got the same group back, so they just have to stay healthy, but I don't see them staying together. I think either Darius is going to get moved or one of the bigs might get moved. I don't see them keeping the too big, too little lineup, 2 small guards and 2 big bigs. That's going to be hard or interesting. We'll see what they do. And it's a new coaching staff. It's going to be some time for them to adjust.
Yeah, I could tend to agree with that. Real quick on the Cleveland Cavaliers, since you spent some time with them as well. So apparently what Kenny Atkinson is going to try and do, Danny, is have Evan Mobley more of a primary ball handler for the Cavaliers this year and allow the spacing that Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland have to really open up the offense. Now they've struggled historically with spacing because either Darius Mitchell or Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell would have the ball in their hand, and obviously Evan Mobley's not a stretch. But if the ball is Evan Mobley's hands, then almost everybody out there outside of Jarrett Allen can stretch the floor. Your thoughts on changing the game plan for the Cavaliers, and do you think that will actually work out?
No. I think it's a good thing to incorporate some to let Evan, obviously come to his own because I think he's able to handle the ball. You got to have somebody to develop him in that sense, but I think he could do more. I don't see him as a Draymond, but I see him. He could be an Anthony Davis if he can work on his game, work on his moves, initiate the offense, get a little more freedom. It gives you a different dynamic or a different aspect for people to be harder to guard when you have that, in your arsenal. But I just don't think it should be a main offense. But it's definitely something you can add to your offense. And because I just don't think it needs time. It's not going to work right away. It's going to need some time for him to get used to doing it, and for everybody else around him to get used to be playing with it.
All right, let's go to one more division before we get out of here. We're looking at the Pacific Division. Phoenix Suns plus 150. Sacramento Kings plus 290. Golden State Warriors, sneaky pick here, plus 400. Lakers plus 480. We ain't talking about the Clippers, even though they're at plus 1,400. Now, this is a unique division because all these teams have made, I would say, significant moves in the offseason. Phoenix Suns, it might not be significant to all, but significant to me. They finally got a point guard in Tyus Jones. They also got a backup point guard as well in Monte Morris, allowing Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant to really get off the ball. And if you've been watching them this preseason, they've been taking a lot more threes, Danny, something that really hindered them last year. They're getting up a lot of getting up 3-point shots under Mike Budenholzer. Sacramento Kings added DeMar DeRozan. Golden State Warriors, they lost Klay Thompson, but they added a lot of players I think can help them. Anthony Melton, Buddy Hield. I think these are guys that can only
slow-mo.
Yeah, and slow-mo can only help really Golden State do what they do the best, which is highlight Steph Curry. Obviously, the Lakers, if they're healthy, this is still a team 2 years ago that was in the Western Conference Finals, and they have a new head coach. And again, we ain't talking about the Clippers. Your thoughts on the best bet in this specific division between those 5 teams? We ain't talking about
I mean, this one's a tough one because it gets really up in the air. The Lakers are good enough. Golden State's good enough. Phoenix. But to me, I think Sacramento. They have a team that kept together. DeMar is going to be a change, but they have everybody, the same people pretty much back. I'm just adding another piece. And the offense that Mike Brown has been putting in, and defense, they've been getting up and down. I like their style of play. And they have better odds than Phoenix. So if you're going to go with something that gives you a little more flip, I would go with the Sacramento Kings. Golden State, even though adding some people, I don't think they got a little older. Draymond's a little older. I don't know if they stay healthy. They're not. It's going to be a different system.
And obviously, if Steph misses a stint of games this year, that's going to be
Steph's going to. He's older too. Steph and Draymond older, and they're just going to take some time getting used to each other. Clip same. He lost PG. So Phoenix, I think it's between Phoenix and Sacramento. They're going to be very good. They got some backup point guards finally and added some good pieces. They got better and have a year under their belt of getting used to each other and a new coach. But ultimately, Sacramento is my pick.
Yeah, I could understand that. I think Sacramento does play a brand of basketball that can make them very successful in the offseason. I think Budenholzer is trying to make the Suns play a brand of basketball that will make them successful in the regular season. It's just a matter of, will KD take 5 to 7? Will he take 5 3-pointers a game? Will he take 5? Will Devin Booker?
They need to shoot more of them. Yes, they do need to shoot more of them.
Will Bradley Beal take those 5 to 7 3-pointers a game? I don't know. It really hasn't been something that's been in their historic shot profile. But in this NBA, with how that team is set up, it's going to need to be in their shot profile. And we'll see how much buy-in they're going to get. Obviously, what they were buying into last year wasn't good enough on the offensive side of the ball. They're giving themselves a better chance this year. We'll see if it actually pans out to them winning the division and potentially validating the move that really shook the NBA 2 off seasons ago. With that being said, I must say I am looking very much forward to getting some betting insights with Danny over the course of the year and over the course of now his retirement. And again, my one learning betting lesson: if the Memphis Grizzlies this year are playing against a team that doesn't have a stretch 4, we'll be targeting those Jaren Jackson block props in the marketplace. Makes a lot of sense. And obviously we'll be talking about the NBA just in general, of course, throughout the course of this upcoming NBA season. For Danny Green, I'm Harrison Sanford. Hope you enjoyed. And please do what you need to do to support the show. Danny?
Read, rate, subscribe, review. You know what it is. Peace.